Hi guys, Mr. Leonard here to review your Connecticut Brownfield Sites homework assignment. Well, if we start with the assignment, you were given two links to go to. This is the very first link. When you click on that, it brings you here. Now, the very first thing that you had to do is define brownfield in your own words. It gave us a nice little description about abandoned properties, not having the ability to expand upon it or reuse it, things like that. In essence, what we're talking about is a place that's contaminated. Whether that's the soil or groundwater that's nearby, it's a place that's contaminated. So we're talking about pollution within the ground. The second question had you answer, why does Connecticut possibly have tens of thousands of brownfields? If I go to the second part of this website, it says because of our long industrial history. So since the 1880s, the Industrial Revolution, we've had a lot of factories and things like that up in Connecticut, and that has put a lot of pollution not only into our air, but also our ground, and that's created a lot of these brownfield sites. The second website that you needed to go to, so once you clicked on that, it brought up a PDF. It looked just like this. Well, with this PDF document, you needed to find Berlin, and I could just scroll down, which is probably what most of you did. All right, Berlin did not start until page 21. All right, here we are. So page 21 of 371. You also could have skipped around by doing this. Okay, so here we have a whole list. Look at this, pages upon pages upon pages of these places that we call brownfields. These are all contaminated sites in town. There are tons of these, thousands of them in Connecticut, as was alluded to by the previous question. So you needed to count how many there were in Berlin. All right, well, that's very simple. All that involves is counting. I gave you this example. This empty space that was once here is now Arby's. So this was a contaminated site. They cleaned it up. That's just one example. When you counted them all up, you came up with around 118. This number also includes repeat addresses. So if you got somewhere around 118, 120 something, that would be perfect. So hundreds, or a little over 100 I should say, here just in town. So that's really a huge amount, especially for the size of this town. You are also asked to find out how many brownfield sites have leaking underground storage tanks. You notice this says leaking underground storage, leaking underground storage, leaking underground storage, and so on. Well, you just need to count those up. When you counted those up, you should have come up with a number around 59. All right, just a number. And what types of substances do you think could be leaking from those? Well, it's probably some sort of fuel. We could think of one school in town here. There's a few schools that are brownfields, but we'll go to one of them. Let's say here. This school right here, Willard School, all right, right near Lower Lane and Norton Road. There we are. We got a wonderful little school, a nice playground. Lots of kids play soccer here, and lacrosse and other things. But this is a brownfield site. This is a contaminated site. And lots of children are going here every day. And maybe even you went there for many, many days. The reason why this is contaminated is because of a leaking underground storage tank. Now, I just mentioned that oil is probably the thing that is leaking. If we think of underground storage tanks, something like this, maybe the tanks maybe that you would find at a gas station. So you see those big fuel trucks show up and they fill up, the fuel so that your mom or dad, brother or sister can get fuel from the gas station, all right? Well, they're held in these underground storage tanks. When they're leaking, no one knows that. And that's a huge problem because it could be leaking tons and tons of fuel into the ground, contaminating it. Now they take these fuel tanks. This is an oil tank in a home. They put them in basements instead of underground. So now they're in basements, and we could see when it starts to leak. And when it starts to leak, we have someone come out and fix it. It's really, really simple to do, and it doesn't contaminate our ground anymore. So if these tanks need to be replaced, we definitely know when that's going to happen. So Willard, unfortunately, has leaked tons of fuel into the ground, and it is a contaminated brownfield site. Now you need it to continue, or go onto Google Maps or some other online mapping directory and find which brownfield site was closest to your house. They are all over town. They could be gas stations, they could be auto repair shops, things like that, or they could be an open field. This is right down the road from Willard, just beyond McGee, which you all know, all right, or most of you do. So we have Norton Road, Four Rod Road, this big open field. If we were to just do a street view of this, it's literally just a field. Alright, if I could turn, this is what it looks like. Now it's not brown, it is a field. Again, it's called brownfields because it's contaminated. This is still used to grow hay and other things, and they sell that around town and to neighboring towns. You need to figure out which place was closest to you. If you live in one of these homes, it could be closest to you, and this is the site that you would have picked. But what you need to find out is what is contaminated, how is it used, and are there any specific contaminants that we could potentially find? And you had to go through the list and find a place that was close to you. So if you live near Mill Street, maybe it's this dry cleaners. Or if you live on Four Rod Road, maybe this is your residence. Who knows? Maybe your home is a brownfield site. This is what is the problem with it. It could be these leaking underground storage tanks. All right. The final question, number 7. You're interested in buying a property near a piece of land. What three questions? A piece of land that could be potentially contaminated as a brownfield site. What 3 questions might you pose to the real estate agent who wants to sell you this property? Well, if I were interested in buying this house and I knew, and I knew that this area was contaminated, all right, I would want to know what's in the ground. What is the contamination? Has it been cleaned up? Is this transferred underground onto my future potential property? There's people with pools nearby. Is it from something related to that? What's happening with this? Could it be harmful if you have pets going around? Or kids? Maybe if you lived here and your kids went and ran around in the grass, are they going to get hurt from it? So these are all questions that you could have posed. Maybe is there a plan to clean it up? So all you need to do is come up with 3 questions, any 3 that would make sense. And that's all that you need to do. If you have any questions, just rewind this to any point and you'll get your question clarified.